You are entering the cosmos.
Viewer discretion is advised. This program may contain sensitive subject matter.
Okay, we're ready. Hi, this is a Crime Night special report. We're following a case out of Alabama where a woman went missing. My co-hosts, Renée Yaworsky and EmEm Farwell, are here joining me. And right now, there is a lot of speculation as to what happened surrounding the woman's disappearance. So we are going to be giving updates as we find out more information. And currently, we are looking at, excuse me, different websites coming out of Alabama. Apparently, what exactly is her name? I'm sorry.
Carlee Russell.
Carlee Russell in Hoover, Alabama is a missing person currently. She had called this past Thursday night. She called 911 saying that she had seen a toddler on Interstate I-459. On Interstate 459 in Alabama. She did a U-turn to check out what the situation may be. And she was on the phone with her sister-in-law, we believe, just as a second source of protection, to investigate the case and see if she could offer any help. And she has been missing ever since. There's been no toddler found. And police arrived at the scene to discover Carlee Russell's car abandoned with a wig, a hat, and a phone near the car, her door open, and her objects, personal belongings, still left in the car. There is currently a video available. It's difficult to see. And one of my co-hosts will be talking about that a little bit more. So let me welcome them on, and we are going to have a discussion as people are trying to figure out what happened, to include anybody who's watching this broadcast. If you have any information, then please feel free to share it. There is also a video with her parents speaking, of course, that they hope that they find her soon. And at this point, I would like to welcome on Renée Yaworsky and EmEm Farwell.
Hi, Elana.
Hi.
Hello.
I wish we were here to have a happier crime night. Not that any crime is happy,
absolutely.
However, it's a rough one for me.
But maybe, for all we know, someone we're watching could have a, find a clue or could recognize something. Absolutely. I'm putting a couple, there's a video that we have to play, and then I'm also putting up a picture of Carlee. But yeah, maybe, this is an active case that happened Thursday, correct? So.
Right. It happened Thursday night around 9:30 p.m. And the police held a press conference, I believe, around 1 p.m. on Friday. So this is an active case. The reason why I'm being hesitant in what I'm saying is because at this point, certain things are speculation and certain things are known facts. However, the case is currently unfolding as we speak.
Right. Okay, so this is a picture of her that we have with the phone number. This is from the police department there. That's what she looks like. And this is another picture that they released of what she looks like. Do you want to take us through, Elana, the basic thing again? I mean, or start going down that timeline from the video?
Yes.
Okay.
Not from the video, but I will give the timeline of the incident. Is
okay. Yeah, that's good. And then
Okay.
also, EmEm, you have a video for us to play. So, let me know anytime.
I don't care. Whenever you guys want. It's got different information in it. So, I mean, it's got
okay.
similar stuff. It has the highway thing, but it's really small while the police is doing their update. And then it goes into the police's press conference.
Do you want us to play that real quick, Elana? I haven't seen
absolutely.
it. Yeah, EmEm found this or put this together actually. So
let's watch the video and we can discuss that further.
Okay.
I want to relay some of the facts as we know them so far and a few additional details that we've been able to uncover in this case. On July the 13th at approximately 9:34 p.m., the Hoover 911 Center received a call from a 25-year-old female on I-459 southbound near mile marker 11. She reported that she saw a toddler walking on the side of the interstate. After calling 911, the caller stopped to check on the child and also called a family member to report the same details. The family member lost contact with the caller, but the line remained open. Police officers who were already en route to the location of the initial 911 call located the female's vehicle as well as some of her belongings at the scene. They were unable to find her or a child in the area, and Hoover police have not received any additional calls of someone missing a small child. Detectives are currently investigating these incidents and are requesting the public's assistance to help locate Carlee Nicole Russell. She's described as a 25-year-old black female who is 5'4", 150 to 160 pounds. She was last seen wearing a black shirt, black pants, and white Nike tennis shoes. Carlee got off work last night around 8:20 p.m. from a business at the Summit in Birmingham. She's also believed to have stopped to pick up food from a business at the Colonnade before driving towards Hoover on I-459, where she stopped near mile marker 11. That location is between the Galleria flyover and exit 10 for Highway 150. A single witness has reported possibly seeing a gray vehicle with a light-complected male standing outside of Carlee's vehicle, but we have no further information on that individual or the vehicle at this time. No piece of information is too small in this investigation. If you have any information, please contact Detective Brad Fountain at 205-444-7562 or Sergeant Drew Mims at 205-739-7274. You can also call Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama at 205-254-7777 if you wish to remain anonymous. An anonymous donor has offered $20,000 for the safe return of Carlee Russell, in addition to $5,000 offered by Crime Stoppers. Again, you can call Crime Stoppers if you wish to remain anonymous, or you can call either of the investigators whose numbers I provided.
She spoke with one of our relatives who was in the home with us and told us that there was a child that appeared to be 3 to 4 years old on the side of the interstate, and that she was pulling over to help the child. She was advised not to get out the car. She did call 911. 911 asked her to stay in the area so that the child wouldn't get out in the interstate. She did, but she got out the car, at which time the person she was on the phone with, a family member, heard a scream from Carlee. We then realized she had dropped her phone, and all we could hear was interstate noise. The officer that was sent out from dispatch said they arrived within 3 minutes of her phone call, but when they arrived, her car door was open, her car was running, and her wig, her hat, and her cell phone were found not far from her car.
Family members now on the search for Carlee, her parents desperate for her return.
To keep applying the pressure to keep this thing going.
Now, her parents tell WVTM that she was last seen wearing all black and white Nike shoes.
Thank you, for putting that video together for us.
Yeah, it's I'm having a hard time with this one because Elana called me and was like, we should do something with this. And I was at that point in time going through videos to do a video for TikTok to bring awareness to that, because I was
Oh,
like,
really? Wow.
it's
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with my husband as well about it's going to affect people of all ages, men, women, regardless of what happens. We don't know what happened yet. But the point is, if I was to see a child on the side of the road today, even knowing this was ongoing, I would stop.
Yeah.
It's natural
Everybody
instinct.
would,
Going
yeah,
to
it's
protect the
instinct.
child first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this whole story got me and Elana talking about all the different ways and things that we have to be careful for. It's just, I can't imagine our family. I mean, regardless of what happened, it's a devastating situation.
It is, and it's also, I remember in various times in my life, so definitely in the 90s, and also I think it was approximately 2015, there were accounts and there were warnings from various groups that sexual predators might use the sound of a baby crying or a cat mewing to try to lure people out of their homes. But one of the news sources that we saw said that this was the first time that something of this nature occurred on the interstate. The other thing I want to point out is that if you look at the setup of the interstate, on the side where Carlee Russell pulled over, there is not a forest or woods. There is it's like an embankment of trees. And then on the other side is a neighborhood full of residential homes. So, and there's also a shopping gallery there. So is there somebody that did this? Did they live in one of the homes? Were they in the shopping gallery? The police are going to need to get any kind of footage they have, from Ring cameras or from the shopping gallery, and dissect everything, and hopefully there will be more information that they're able to find at that point.
Yeah, because they said it's one of the busiest and most active suburban neighborhoods directly beyond that tree line. So how does someone just scurry away without having another getaway car? And it also makes you wonder, like, how many people were involved. For me, if there's a young toddler that was being used as bait, to me, I'm thinking there's probably a woman somehow involved that would be aware of this type of thing. I'm thinking of, there was a guy in Syracuse who was abducting women and bringing them to his bunker, and his wife was the one like helping him. So that wouldn't be unprecedented. That actually happens.
My husband and I actually discussed that case, and then the case of the woman in the box from I believe it's the 70s, where the predator used his wife and his infant child as there was a lot of hitchhiking occurring at that time, and so he would always drive the car with his wife and his infant child, so the people would see him as a family person, somebody that they could trust to get in the car with. And yet, there is a case where at that point, once he got the hitchhiker to his residence, he put her in a box under his bed. So, I mean,
and Elizabeth
unfortunately-
Smart. Yep. And
yep.
Elizabeth Smart. There was a woman involved as well. Charlie Manson,
Right.
of course, had women involved. So Jonestown had 4 women who made the final call for the Jonestown Kool-Aid incident. So it's not like, I think sometimes for me, I always forget that there can be accomplices and sometimes even women. In Atlanta, we had a man-woman duo where the woman was on the side of the road saying she needed help, and everyone who stopped, the guy would come in and suddenly take over, you know. So, and a lot of these women are
And that was
trafficked.
a big
A lot of
thing
these women are
Right.
trafficked, you know.
that
Sorry.
occurred in the like I remember I was in probably high school, maybe just getting into college, but there was a case where the woman was acting like she needed help, like she was being taken or something.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
you would stop and help her, and you'd be the one. She was actually helping him
Exactly.
to take
Right.
people. So it's just one of those situations where when something like this happens, and again, we don't know what happened, but
No.
from where we're at right now, it's another one of those cases that makes you think, okay, now if she was advised, it does say in the early reports, and her parents are the ones that said she was advised to stay in her car, but to remain close to the child, so that the child didn't get out onto the highway or whatever. But obviously, then she got in touch with her family member and got out of the car because she could not just leave the child. She needed to,
Right.
Mhm.
and they said that the family member heard her speak to the child, but they didn't hear the child because then that's when she screamed and the phone went.
Yeah, apparently what it sounds like is they heard they heard Carlee say to the kid, "Are you okay?" And then right after she asked, "Are you okay?" she started screaming, and then all they can hear is the interstate. You know how loud those interstates are,
Right.
and they could not hear anything else. But to me, that means that Carlee was subdued. After that scream, they could not hear anything, and the police show up 3 minutes later. For me, it just seems like there's more than one person involved to me, because someone's going to have to collect that toddler, which was not found. So someone's going to have to collect the toddler. Someone's going to have to abduct Carlee, who's an adult. Somebody,
Right.
and then they have to get them through that wooded area somehow. I mean, it's just
The
Well,
other
and this is
other
with the
thing,
assumption that it was a child walking. We don't know.
right, and the
Was
other
it
That's
an
thing is
true.
actual child? Was it a? We don't know.
there's no report of any missing child. So, you know, right, was it a child? Was it somebody, was it this the
perp's wife or the perp's
perpetrator's
child, the perp's child. Yeah.
Is the perpetrator staying somewhere? You know, some of the comments on Reddit included, you know, somebody had said that maybe the child was running away and had been, you know, trafficked or something dangerous, and the child was running away. And so she was actually trying to assist the child. However, when the person came to, you know, run after the child, then they abducted both of them. So, I mean, there's all sorts of speculation coming in right now.
I think the biggest thing for me and why I was pleased when Elana was like, let's do this, is because it immediately made my stomach sink. And as a mom to children who aren't far off from her age, I can tell you that I cannot even fathom my child's face on a missing poster
Yeah.
at any age. And when I hear a story about a young girl like that, and I think that could be any woman, any
Yes.
person, male, female, whatever, is going to stop. I mean, most people are going to check on a child wandering across the highway, you know, like along the highway.
Right.
It's
And
really,
Carlee
yeah.
seems to have done everything right. She
Mhm.
called 911. She stayed in her car. She was, you know, that's what we do as women.
We don't know why she
also,
stepped
is stay
out
on
of her
the phone
car.
with each other, you know, as an added
Right.
layer of protection. It really makes you think, how sad it is that we live in a world where you think you see a child and you can't help the child or anybody because your personal safety could be at risk.
And I know, like, Ted, you know, I was just gonna say Ted Bundy used to fake having a disability to have people help him so that he could. So, like, Good Samaritans are just getting punished left and right sometimes. Sorry, guys. Continue.
I just wanted to say that was another reason why my mind is thinking similar lines to what Elana was saying, or that type of an incident where this wasn't any type of planned thing where a child was planted. Let me tell you why I feel that way. Because they don't know who was going to stop. The trucker, the big old trucker, could have stopped. They didn't know that she was going to make a U-turn and come and stop.
Okay. That's a good point. I had not
saying? Like,
okay.
Mark could have stopped. David could have stopped. You know, a truck full of teenage guys or whatever could have stopped. Like, they didn't know who was going to stop. An undercover female officer, you know, we don't know. They didn't know. There's no way to know who would have stopped for that child. So I have to say my mind did go to something similar to like what Elana was saying, that she fell upon the situation totally separate from
like in progress. Yeah.
You know,
and you know, them saying it's a subdivision and it's this huge subdivision, and I'm like, a lot of sex trafficking happens in subdivisions. People forget that, like, it is the guy next door. Like, every time in your local city, not every time, but a huge percent of the times when you hear about there's a sex trafficking ring, it's like in a suburban neighborhood that's very professional, and they pick a house, you know, and that's what they use their house for.
Right. Like, Dayton is a huge hub, Dayton, Ohio. And because it's, you know, a suburban area, and people are going to, or, you know, look at what happened in Cleveland. And
right. Yes, exactly.
The name escapes me right now. However, the neighbors said that this man who was holding, I believe, 3 women and at least 1 child, that he was mowing people's lawns and helping his neighbors, and everybody loved him. Everybody was shocked when, you know, and the fact that there is this embankment is not woods. It's not, you know, they wouldn't have found anything. There's like 2 lines of trees basically, and then a whole residential neighborhood. So I mean, it could be in any home.
Okay. Here's a little picture that, I mean, this is all late breaking, you know, so here's like a little picture. It's a little blurry, but that's the interstate, as you can see. And then look, there's even a law firm, I guess, if you go north just a little bit, Reed Rayner or something. But yeah, there's a huge shopping center right if you look to like the south there. And then here's another map. Let's just see what this out. Okay, this is where the whole search is. Colonnade and the Summit. Remind me, I think I heard you.
The Summit's where her business that she left, and the Colonnade's where she got her, or vice versa, where she got her food, one or the other. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then she comes north, and then I guess that last dot is the
exit 10 is the exit she was going to exit off from, and so 11 and like 3/4, the mile marker, is where this happened. So she literally was like less than half a mile to her exit.
Okay. So then let me look at this one again. All right. Interesting.
So I'm not sure. Yeah.
So one can hope, though, again, I reiterate that hopefully there are many cameras in the area. They, you know, people have Ring cameras now.
Right. That's a big tool that have been very useful.
They'll be able to,
there you go,
to find out more about what happened once they get that footage.
So that's where it happened, at that mile marker 11, like mile marker 11. I think they said like 11 3/4 or something. And that would be like the shopping thing. And you guys were talking about to the side of that. And then I believe that John Hawkins, is it? I think it's Hawkins, John Hawkins Highway. right there that cuts across or under is, it's either that or the other one, but I'm pretty sure it's that Johns Hopkins Highway would have been her exit that she would have gone off of.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, devastating enough to have her on her way home,
Mm-hmm.
be almost home, and then
Absolutely.
just have it be unknown. So lots of, I'm just going to get personal for a minute and say lots of thoughts, prayers, positive energy, whatever you believe in for that family. Because,
Yes.
and anybody who wants to help, the phone numbers are there. They're given in the press conference. They're given on that flyer. The family's going to need a lot of support either way, whatever, how long this takes. And so I know a lot of people like to have something they can do to help. And there's so many ways to help, whether you're there, here, wherever. I mean, share this, share other ones, share flyers, you know, whatever you can do. Because
Right. I
I'm
mean,
so
that's
tired of seeing these stories.
that's one of the reasons why we wanted to go live with the story also, is because it is coming out of Alabama. And I mean, she could be in that residential neighborhood,
Right.
or they could be en route to any number of other cities, or, you know, so the more that you share it, you know, the more hopefully there is an opportunity for somebody to have seen something, or they will see something and report
It was a busy highway. I mean, you
more
can see on those
information.
videos.
Very busy. Yeah, it's huge. It's just
The
like
whole
there's so much going on.
So my husband was saying that,
side of
that
the
a lot of people now have dash cams also.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
they're
Good
also
point.
calling for anybody that has any kind of dash cam that might show something to make that available.
And a lot of commercial vehicles, it's required, right? A lot of big businesses require it in their truckers or their trucks or their vehicles.
And you'd think
Have
on an interstate like that, there would be many trucks passing and
Right. Just nonstop, really.
right.
I mean, it's crazy to think this all happened in 3 minutes.
Right.
Listen, she had to call the police. They were there within 3 minutes. So she called the police. Then she pulls over. Then because she's calling the police as she's pulling over and following this child. And then she calls her family, because they told her to wait in the car, but she wanted to check the kids. So I'm assuming that's why she called her family. Like Elana said, I'm going to have that second protection, have them on the
I
phone with me.
believe it was her sister-in-law
it's her,
that she
yeah.
contacted.
Yeah, I think, so, or the brother's girlfriend. Yeah, one or the other. But yeah, either way, she did have somebody on the phone with her, which again is not the perfect scenario for somebody who was trying to, you know, had this plan, right? Like none of this
Right. None of this is
good
playing
point.
out. Yeah.
And so you figure by the time all that happened, that she called, she pulled, you've already lost a minute. So in 2 minutes, she gets out of her car, says hi to a child, and disappears from the face of the earth.
Right.
It's absolutely, it's terrifying to imagine.
Right. So
2
please,
minutes,
again, if anybody knows anything, has seen anything, has heard anything, you know, these cases generally don't end positively. So let's try to get as much information to the police that we can, so that hopefully Carlee Russell can be returned,
yes,
you know, unharmed, and
if the child's involved, that the child can be
And
saved.
there's a
right?
child.
We don't
Yeah.
know what the status of the child is. And my husband actually brought up a really good point also, was that what was the child like? What did she think she saw the child doing? Was the child walking? Was the child, you know, lying at the side of the road? Was the child
I think
sitting?
in that video with the parents, they said the child, when she talked to her sister-in-law, she said it was a 3 or 4-year-old, and I can't remember if she said running or walking. I want to say
Okay.
she said running on the side of the road, but it might have been walking. I don't want to misspeak, but it is in that video. So if anybody wants to check it out, you can go back and rewatch that. They do speak about that, but
And Reddit is blowing up.
Mm.
So anybody that is a regular on Reddit,
Oh yeah,
they're
TikTok, YouTube, they're all going
yeah,
crazy.
I'm not that's how we found out about it, is my husband's active on Reddit. I'm not on Reddit, but there are many groups of people who are having many discussions, and that might be another place to speak to people. But again, there's a lot of speculation right now, so
Right. Yeah, none of us know. And everybody's,
Right.
it's really emotional for everybody, the police and everything. Imagine getting to that scene and being a police officer, and you got there in 3 minutes from the time the call first started. Like the minute it started, they set them out and they were there within 3 minutes time.
Yeah, it's like everybody did everything right. And this is just, I
Yes.
think that's one of the reasons why it's resonating with everyone. Cause like Em said, you know, that could have been me, that could have been anyone. If you see a child, a toddler on the side of an interstate, you are going to stop. But I thought that was
Even
also,
now.
yeah, even now, after knowing this, we would still stop. And I really think
Right.
Em was onto something when she said, it sounds like another crime in progress, because how could they have possibly known it would be, you know, a young woman who would have stopped there? When you see the video, the one thing that stands out to me is just how busy of an interstate this truly is. It's one of
It
those
really
huge,
is.
wide, like extremely loud, extremely busy. And there's no way that you could sort of architect that. And also the fact that they are right next to that subdivision, it's not like they had a getaway car. Something very suspicious is going on. And, you know, in a weird way, in an optimistic way, the best case scenario here, which probably won't happen, but the best case scenario would be, if that happened, Carlee would be this big hero. And if we could find her, we would also be able to liberate that child from clearly what is a
Right.
traumatic, you know, so maybe, and like Elana and I were talking about, like the Syracuse guy, or there's other examples where they do not mortally injure their captured victim. So it's actually possible that Carlee is alive right now. And one of these tipsters who sees something, you know, check your Ring cameras, check all the surveillance cameras. No tip is too small. That's what the guy from the police department was just saying. They're examining everything. It's very possible that we'll see Carlee again, and we'll see multiple other people being liberated or protected from this predator, whatever it is, or whoever they are. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying. And like I said, I think the thing that makes me the most, one, you know, like I said, the emotional side of being a mom to kids that are close to that age. But the other thing is being a woman and knowing damn well that even though I feel like I protect myself, and we all know I have protection and what have you, I would still stop to help a child on the side of the road. And am I going to be focused on the child? I mean, I would hope to God that right now I would be more cautious knowing this. But when you're in those moments, what do? You
But
react
also, what
to
is
the
more
child.
cautious? You know, like Carlee did. So the first thing I want to say is that while we're saying that we're not sure if it was planned like this, it could have been planned like this.
Absolutely.
And there have been cases of people using decoys, bait, etc.
Right.
So we don't know. And again, you know, I'm saying that we would hope to protect ourselves. It's such a scary thing, because she did what we would do typically to protect ourselves.
Exactly.
And still she's missing.
Now, Hoover is, do we know, does anybody know exactly where Hoover is? It's kind of, it's near Birmingham.
Okay. Oh, geez, that's huge. I've been to Birmingham. That's a metropolis, sprawling metropolis.
It's not super far from, I mean, it's like northeast of Tuscaloosa and south of Huntsville. So those are
I
two
don't know
places
that
most people
area
know,
at all. Is that an area where somebody would be able to disappear into a crowd? It sounds like that might be a possibility.
I don't really know how Hoover itself. Birmingham is
Absolutely,
immense.
It's huge.
And
Yeah.
I mean, Mississippi's not super far from there. I can't. I couldn't guess to tell you how far, but it's not, you know, a day's drive or something. And but the thing is, that's such a, you know, you have the whole national forest is over there on the other side of Birmingham as well.
Good point. Yeah.
You have a massive national forest. I've only been to Alabama like 3 times. When my daughter was in the service, she was stationed in Huntsville, and I went once down for another trip. But that's the areas that I went in, Huntsville, to Tuscaloosa. So I had to go through, you know, we went through Birmingham, but yeah, that's, I don't know. I don't think it matters what if it was a planned thing. They had they knew what direction they were going in. They knew where they were headed from there. I still think it would be a crazy plan. Not that it wouldn't be a plan, but it would be, it would be one of those cases where I'd be like, what was the goal? Because you don't know who's going to stop. A police officer could have stopped.
So there was somebody, one of the comments on Reddit, I had said we did discuss, you know, the crying baby on the porch or the mewing cat, and somebody on Reddit brought that up and said that if somebody has done this multiple times, they would be prepared in the case of anybody stopping. So
that's the thing. Like, it doesn't, it's a weird.
We don't know. Yeah. It's the police don't know. We don't know. There's so many possibilities and so many.
What happens? It's a lot of times you hear, oh, I would have never imagined. That person lives right next door to me. I would have never imagined.
It happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Exactly.
It's not the ones you.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to also bring up that, I mean, there, as usual in a case where somebody goes missing, you know, people say things like, oh, they had a psychotic break and they disappeared. But really, let's look at what Carlee Russell did. That does not look to me, from what facts we have at this point, that does not look to me like somebody who's having any kind of break.
No.
She called 911. She did a U-turn. You know, she's careful.
She called family too. She was asking for help. Yeah.
Yeah. She used that as an extra line of protection. I mean, it seems.
And she just got food for herself. Yeah, and she just got food. So I'm sure they talked to. Yeah, and I'm sure they talked to the people who served her, and, you know, they can ask about her demeanor, but it seems like that's not going to be the road here. Like, remember the runaway bride who kidnapped herself? Like, yeah, that happens where people kidnap themselves because they don't. But here it just doesn't seem likely.
And even the case of was like those, most times when that happens, there are questions. Like, people are like, how did that happen? Like, what?
Right.
But with this one, like you're saying, the dots don't connect, because you wouldn't give, if you were making a plan to take off or something, you wouldn't give yourself a 2-minute window from the police till the time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I just don't think that.
And she's a very smart girl.
It looks exactly. And also, she's highly educated. They said that she was in nursing school. She has a degree, a bachelor's degree in psychology. She just doesn't sound, and her actions that night really don't sound like somebody that was not in their right mind.
Yeah, she sounds like she could be any of us. She was a good Samaritan trying to save this little kid. And like I said, maybe she still will save that little kid by getting all of this attention. You know, one of the things about Birmingham, which is also kind of the way of the landscape of American news cycles generally, is that a lot of times they get so swamped with crime. Birmingham, or Beham as they call it, is really swamped with, it's it's economically and financially, it's just not there. They have a lot of crime, and the police force seems, is always very, very clogged, as you would say. So a lot of crime does not get dealt with because there's a deluge of it for a variety of reasons. But I know when I worked with prisoners and people who were felons and stuff in Atlanta, they always talked about BHAM as being like really bad, like not anywhere connected to what like even Atlanta was going through. So so I'm happy that the country is coming. I'm happy we're doing this show. I'm happy that the country is coming around this incident because number one, we are going to get some tips that'll bring people forward. But also, I'm just glad that she's an African-American young woman in Alabama. And that demographic typically throughout time and space has been totally ignored. There are a lot of kidnappings. There are a lot of things that go on and people just turn their heads. So us putting attention here is so important.
And that's also a lot of reason why you hear things like, well, she had a break or she was schizophrenic and this is the age at which the first onset might occur. I think that we really need to press for this case to be investigated and not try to dismiss it in any way. And a lot of these times these cases do.
Really, social media is driving this one because immediately Thursday I knew about it Thursday night. You know what I mean? And I was like, listen, David got up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh my gosh, listen to this story that I just heard on whatever I was watching. And it's social media. And we can complain about social media and break it down. And yes, it needs a lot of, overhaul, what have you. But at the same time, there's a lot of good that can come from social media. And this is a perfect case because I knew about this within a very short time of it happening. So if I knew about it in Maine, just a middle-aged woman in the middle of the woods, then people knew about it everywhere. It was available.
Right. I mean, the three of us are from different places, New York, Maine, Pennsylvania. And honestly, I am not familiar with Alabama. And, it is definitely touching a nerve with everybody. And so that definitely gives me hope that, we will be on top of this as a society and make sure that we, or at least hope to achieve a positive result.
Yeah, and I will say this area is heavily monitored, and I think the darkness, it was like 9:30 p.m. That's a big element of why there weren't more people who directly or that we know of yet directly witnessed this crime. But if you look at the tape, there's so much, there's an immediate interstate that's right there. How many dozens of people had flowed by in the course of these few minutes? Lots. Then there's the subdivision. Then there's all the people at the colonnade where she got her food or whatever. That whole area, there's cameras everywhere. Elana can speak to this, but what is going on at the DA's office right now and in the police department in forensics right now, do you think? Talk about how they're analyzing everything. They're knocking on doors. Take us through that process of what will be happening.
So what should be happening, and I'm just going to mention a show that I watch on a very regular basis on Discovery ID called See No Evil. It basically is a forensic show that details how they use cameras to find this information. And fortunately, with products such as Ring, most people now do have some sort of camera. So, the question is, what camera will she appear on?
Right.
All this footage will be subpoenaed at this point, I'm sure. The footage from any camera that they think is looking on over the interstate. The interstate itself might have cameras. I know now that there are interstates that have cameras that take pictures to give you tickets, you know, if you're speeding.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I don't know if those kind of cameras might be helpful. You know,
Mhm.
I'm sure that they are talking to people in those areas and trying to find out if what somebody saw, what somebody heard. The family member did say that they heard a scream, so maybe that's something that somebody else heard. Maybe somebody saw a car
Mhm.
or a truck in the area that, you know, looked different than one that would normally be in that area.
Okay.
And so I think, and of course I can't say for sure, but I do believe that they had talked about getting other agencies involved. And of course, if somebody does take her by car and does cross state lines,
That's
then this
FBI
would,
territory.
right, this would be a federal case as well.
Mhm.
So all I can really say is that those are avenues I know will be explored over
But
the
it takes
next.
time, right? So them watching all of these
Absolutely.
hours and hours of tapes from different,
Exactly.
so
Well,
that's one
and
of the
it
things
takes
too.
time to secure it. You know, it
Okay.
takes time. Like when I was a public defender, well, actually, when I was, you know, a public defender and working in the DA's office, you know, you literally sit there and you, as the attorney, you know, or the police officer, I mean, the police officer would bring it to the attorney if this ultimately goes to court. I mean, you are going through the footage scene by scene, and they're going
Right.
to
Yeah.
cover the time period. So let's say they probably would take maybe, I don't know, an hour, you know, time before and time after
Mhm.
to you know, get as much information as they can.
Mhm.
And honestly, watching every single camera, it's going to take a long time to subpoena them. It's going to take a while to get them, and it's going to take a while to go through all that footage.
It is. And the other thing is not every place has everything timestamped. So like you're saying, going through everything, literally they could be able to look at
Yeah. It
amount of
just takes
video
time. It
and
just
get
takes time.
that brief little 3 minute,
Right.
you know.
You
But
know.
the one thing that does also give me hope is that the you know, we as viewers and people aware of the case, we have jumped on this early. So a
Mhm.
lot of time that footage is going to be recorded over, or, you know, I have some hope that, you know, there will
Yeah.
actually be something available, because this did just occur Thursday at 9:30 p.m. So, you know, if you are in the area, don't, you know, make sure that you have that footage from that time period, so, and you don't record over it.
Yeah, and that's another
Right. Do not
point.
record over it. A lot of this stuff gets
Yeah.
recorded over. Mhm.
And it's another good point to make is that, you know, we're saying everybody's getting on there quick because it's on social media and we all know about it.
Mhm.
I know about it in Maine. But just because I know about it in Maine doesn't mean that everybody in Birmingham knows about it.
That's
Absolutely.
It
that's a
doesn't
really
mean
good
that all the
point.
surrounding areas, and Alabama has some very low
Mhm.
income areas where there's not a lot of internet and social media and, you know, like freely available and used. So
There could be people who are right there or
many
did see
people who
something and just
don't
don't know that
even
it needs.
know.
Yeah.
Because if I
Like,
drove by a woman with a child on the side of the road, I'd be like, oh, poor kid must be sick or have to go to the
yeah,
bathroom.
like I wouldn't think about it.
Wouldn't even blink.
So I mean, the other thing they're going to do too is they'll subpoena the 911 tape, and they will listen to that more closely, and that might be beneficial. There might be something else that came up.
Mhm.
um
What do you guys think about the sort of vague thing that they mentioned in the press conference about a light-skinned man standing near the car? Light-skinned, I'm assuming, means African American, but with a lighter complexion. It does not mean Caucasian. Is that correct, Elana? Is that?
I mean, that's what I took it to mean.
Okay, yeah, like a light-skinned man standing next to the car. I'd like to hear more from that witness. What's going on?
Sure.
In the video with the parents, because I didn't obviously we didn't show the whole entire of every video. They say light tanned, light.
Okay.
I want to say brown, that they use the word brown, but I'm not positive. But yeah, so they're definitely talking about somebody who's not necessarily Caucasian.
So not a Caucasian.
Dark-skinned person, yeah. So.
And I guess that also, is going to be interesting when they look to see like who lives in that area right over where the trees are,
Right.
Yep.
So they do have a lot of searching to do.
And I, watching the video, watched 3 whole minutes of her before the police came, and there's a very brief click where they must have taken a piece out before releasing it or whatever, because it switches from one angle to another, and then you see the police coming.
Oh, that's an interesting point, thank you for bringing that up. So
yes, if you go back and watch it, so there's something that I'm not seeing, at least, and I feel like it jumped. So I'm thinking, well, something must have happened between then and then. You see her pull over, you see her get out of her car. Some people say they can see what looks like a child, but other people are like, oh, it looks like someone kneeling, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're ever, but we don't know if what the police are looking at is clearer either.
Okay, and here's
we get the traffic cam doesn't mean the cops don't have better, technology or what have you.
Can someone read, or I can do it, but Elana, you had sent from Reddit the timeline, the timestamps, and just sort of like what plays out in the video, people who are watching the video. Did you want me to read some of that, or do you
yeah? So I'm going to be really honest. I personally can't watch the video.
Okay.
I unfortunately get car sick.
But other people watched it for us, right? So then these are timestamps from Reddit. These are do-gooders.
So if you wouldn't mind reading
sleuths.
those, Renee, having seen the video, I think that would be more helpful than.
Okay. Yeah. And EmEm was saying, even when she blew it up, it is really hard to figure this out. But there are people who have software, this special software, and they can clarify some
AI.
of this.
You'll be happy to
They're using AI. So here's basically the car is first seen with no tail lights. There's a car with no tail lights. Okay, so Carlee, our Carlee, her vehicle then comes to a stop. Someone exits the driver's side just a few seconds later. Strange light in the woods, many people are reporting at that same moment, but some people are saying they do not see that. There's a strange light in the woods that some people see at that moment.
To interrupt. Okay. I just want to say that I believe what they're calling the woods is that line of two or three deep of trees that is not actually woods. If Carlee was in that area, she would have already been found. So
exactly.
It's not really woods.
Right. Thank you for that's important. After that, 3 seconds later, there's a figure that moves towards the back of Carlee's car, and there's a figure at the right side of the car. That would be on the, what do you call it? Like towards the woods, not towards the interstate. Then some people say they see a figure crouching down and leaning over the right side of that car, but some people do not see that. Then shadow of a figure seen running across a blue sign, possibly. There is a moving shadow. Then 20 seconds later, a figure walks away. Some people don't see that either. It's too murky. Some people see a figure struggling and a figure outlined about a minute and 24 seconds in. A figure steps away or walks away. A figure goes to the ground or is fighting, staggers, gets taller, moves towards Carlee. everything those last 5 ones, some people see that struggle, some people see an altercation, some people just do not. So I'm assuming that's what some people with that AI enhancement is seeing that.
And
Then,
Renee, can I just interject one more thing?
Sure.
This comes from a compilation of people who are having discussions about this on Reddit.
Mhm.
People who have, start dissecting the video, and that's
Right.
why some people can see it and some people can't see it. Again, everybody's speculating. The more leads you have, the more opportunity you have to hopefully find Carlee.
Right, exactly.
Thank you.
So everything you just said, Renee, everything you just said happened would have had to have occurred within like a 2-minute window.
Yeah,
In 3 minutes, and before anything happened, she had already made a phone call, pulled over, made a second phone call, got out of her car, approached the child, screamed, dropped the phone. All that occurred before the police were even in the picture.
Exactly. Yeah. And everything that I read is still from the video is still under 1 minute and 28 seconds.
Right.
Right. So at 1 minute, 28 seconds, a passing car hits brakes, like kind of does like a little, like they brake for a second, presumably seeing the fight, quote unquote. And then this person who posted it said, look, I saw a car hitting brakes, but I don't see the altercation. Okay, then some kind of a figure goes towards the mile marker, the one that EmEm was talking about. That's the mile marker. The figure stays at the back of the car, some people say. Then the figure moves, raises hands, and then there's 2 people in the woods. Some people are saying they see 2 shadows of people in the woods at the 2 minute and 6 second mark of the video. Then there's a green light or a flashlight that moves down the screen. I saw that. You're going to have to tell me what you thought. Mark was saying that looks like it's when the police showed up. And that's basically the video. That's everything on the video that everybody in the world who is examining this has seen.
The full video is like 4 minutes or something, and it shows her it actually shows her pulling, starting to pull over, and then she goes a little further, and she's literally out of the road inching along. So is she inching along with this child? We don't know. But as far as all the lights, I tried to blow it up on my TV. I haven't really dissected it. You know that I will, but I haven't. I have not yet. I have not had the opportunity to do it yet. However, I find it difficult because there's so much reflection on the highway.
That's the problem. It's very distracting. Yes.
All your mile markers are reflective. A lot of your side paint lines are reflective. Your signs are reflective. Your directional signs, your, Hardy's ahead, those signs, all that stuff is really reflective. And so a lot of the lights we're seeing are reflecting off each other. There's vehicles reflecting off the other vehicle. It was even hard to tell when her brake lights were on and when she was going, it's a really difficult video to analyze. So they will definitely be breaking that down. It'll be, I would like to be there when that happens, but that'll be a task because, and again, we have no clue if that's the same video the police are working on. We don't know. They might have something much better, but I never saw another vehicle. I at one point thought I saw another vehicle pull over, but then I was like, I kind of feel like that's a reflection. I don't know. Like, it's just
very confusing, and you have to know the lay of the land. And I imagine that so many people must have seen something. If it were just a few hours earlier in the daylight, or actually if it were only 2 hours earlier in the daylight, even the twilight, so many more people would see things. But it's just so dark. And then, like Em is talking about, there's all these reflections, and then there's all these headlights, there's all these taillights. Everything is just zooming, and you're going so fast on that interstate. It's just really hard. I think that even, And
I
Elana can,
only added 3 minutes of that highway, and like I said, to me it looks like it cuts right before the police come. It cuts angles, like it zooms out. But again, I haven't had a chance to dissect it. However, I can put the link on from YouTube that has the full video. It's like 4 minutes and 30 seconds or something, because that starts with her coming into the camera, and then immediately you see her, you know.
yeah, and it's hard too in the police
hesitating.
force. You know, the forensics team has a lot to sift through because, like Elana can talk about the science of this, 2 witnesses who are telling the truth are going to have vastly different experiences, perspectives, points of view,
Absolutely.
and they're going to be confused. And memory, even a second later, starts to atrophy or to even change. And with all the lights, you're kind of in this crazy, din of movement and noise. To, someone seeing something out of the corner of their eye, or there's tricks of the light, there's shadows everywhere. I've been on these interstates before. I've been on that interstate before. And I can tell you, like I don't know where mile marker 10 is, but I've been on that interstate before. And it's just impossible to really have a clear view of something at that kind of pace. And so they're going to have a lot of false leads, a lot of red herrings, and that slows down the progress sometimes, because you have to address every single one of them. But how many people are on this case officially? I don't know.
I think that remains to be seen, and that's why I feel like if Renee and Em, if you are ready to wrap this up, as information does come in, and as more facts are come to light, as the police get more information that they share with us, we'll pass that information on, and have more pop-ups as
it develops. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes, please stay on it, everybody. Please, whatever you believe in or don't believe in, just light a candle, say a prayer, send some positive energies. This family is going through it, and I'm sure there will be some sort of a GoFundMe or what have you to help the family while they're dealing with this as well, because they won't be working and what have you. So, and there's always all these expenses that will come up when it comes to,
and there will be search parties that form, and there I'm sure that again, just to reiterate about, there is no report about a missing toddler, so we are looking for Carlee Russell in order to see what else develops. And I don't know how the information will be released, but we definitely will share anything. And if anybody has any information themselves, do we have like a
we can put the flyer in the comments, and we can put the flyer on our we can put the flyer on our featured. We can pin it to the top of our
And there is an award. There's an award of like $25,000 combined from 2 different agencies for anything that leads to her being rescued and she's okay. I said that really sloppily, but you know what I mean. For her safe return, for the safe return of Carlee Russell, $25,000. So that shows how passionate people are. People are stepping up to the plate. Probably by now it's even risen from that. But if you see something, just call this number, 205-401-3365, and let's bring her home.
There was an anonymous number too. So
there was.
You don't feel
you can call Crime Stoppers. They give that number. I will go back and listen to it and look.
You want me to play the video again? Do you want me to play the video again at the end here
when we close?
Yeah.
And I can put those phone numbers and the flyer. I'll put them both on. I'll pin it in one post at the top.
Excellent.
Okay,
awesome.
That's great. So everybody will have the information available to them.
And thank you guys. I appreciate
Thank
having
you.
other women who are like I and want to like immediately wanted to
Thank
jump
you.
on this and get out
Yes,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And know that I openly admitted that.
I love that I saw it. I called you and you said that you were researching it. And then I
I was
believe
literally-
you talked to Renee, and
Yeah.
Renee
Mhm.
was immediately like, I'm available at this time. Let's do this. So
It's important. Women have got
absolutely.
to start.
Women have to
fighting
stick
for
together,
women
fight for other
and
women.
strength.
Yes.
And it's wonderful that men do as well. But a lot of times women, we fall through the holes because, well, it's just another woman missing, and in this
Yeah.
case, it's
Yeah,
another
I mean,
Alabama African American. Like, there is a racism problem in our country, and this happens.
definitely.
And I refuse to let any women, I am lifted up by all my sisters, and I refuse to let any women fall through the cracks. If there's anything I can say
Absolutely.
or do that will help this family, that will help this girl, and there's a child potentially there is a child involved. So
Right. I mean,
that's
I
a
think
whole
that,
other Pandora's
and I
box.
think that that's
that needs to be-
interesting too, is that we don't really know anything about the toddler. So, and a child has not been reported. So I think that that's something that we just need to keep in our mind, that what did Carlee actually see? And maybe that could also help,
And
was
why did
this
she
planned?
scream?
Was this not
Maybe-
planned? Did somebody have a toddler? Did they have, something that looked like a toddler? I mean, there's so many,
They said she asked the child, "How are you?" or
Are you okay?
And they didn't hear the child respond. They heard her
right.
scream. So,
And then they
was
heard a
that because
scream.
somebody grabbed her, or was that because when she knelt down or got closer to the child to ask the question, she realized what it really was? We don't know.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Nobody
We just-
No,
knows
because
at
if I
this
thought I
point.
was going to talk to a child and I lean down and there's a man behind him, or it is a
Sure.
man kneeling down, or it's not even a child at all, it's a doll, I don't know.
A doll. Yeah, like a doll or
Right,
something.
exactly.
I'm going to
We
scream
have
because I'm
no
going to know I'm
idea.
in trouble. I'm going to
So
know
the other thing
immediately I'm in
also,
trouble.
she called 911 from the opposite. Renee, if you could speak to that for a moment, because you have been on that interstate. I don't know if where you've been is similar to where she was, but she's going the opposite direction and she sees something.
Yes.
And as you're saying, there's
Which
a
that's new
glare,
information
there are
for me,
lights.
so I get a
What was she responding to
Yeah.
exactly? And because there
Yeah.
were because there's so many other vehicles and so many other people that were really in the same, it could have, like Em said, it could have been someone else who had stopped. My question is, what did other people who were sort of at the same timestamps as Carlee, what did they
Yeah.
see? So I want to know what they saw, because they would have seen something very similar to what Carlee saw. Why did they
Sure,
not
were there
stop?
other
Why did they
911
stop?
calls?
We don't know, right?
Right.
And the
If
other
there
thing
were other
is,
911 calls, those are going to have to be subpoenaed as well.
Right.
And
It all
Again,
takes time.
this speaks to her character as a human being, because
Yeah.
not how many people, one, would stop in the dark night if they weren't positive what they saw, right? And two, you're on the opposite side of the highway and you make a U-turn. I hadn't read that, so for me that's new information, and I'm thinking that speaks so highly of her character, that she was concerned enough that was a child alone on the highway,
Right.
that she stopped in the middle of the highway and made a U-turn. That's just, yeah.
right.
She's
That's
definitely a
huge.
heroic personality. I mean, she's
And
training to be a nurse, so she's a
right. And
caring,
that's why I think
a
that,
caring, nurturing individual.
people have to be extremely careful with
Heart-wrenching.
thoughts of her having the onset of schizophrenia or some other kind. While anything is possible at this point, again, if you look at that and the fact that she made a U-turn, and it just really
It doesn't
seems
fit.
like somebody
just
in
doesn't fit
their
at
right
all.
mind.
No, I think that's a red herring. I think that's something that might be cool for a Columbo or
Yes.
something, but I don't think that's what happened here.
So
She,
let's not be misled. Let's not let that I know that
In my
comes up a
mind,
lot
I'm
and it's
skeptical.
dismissive.
Yeah.
So let's not let that
Yeah, I
get
think
in
we
the
can
way.
table that. I think that's probably not going to
You
lead to
guys
anywhere.
know how I feel. I'm skeptical, and I'm like, I'm gonna be researching till my eyes are red, right? We know that about me, and
Yes.
those thoughts, which normally I'm one that would be skeptical in the beginning till I got more facts. That stuff never came to my mind watching this play out. Does that make sense? Like I never the way that this played out, like
Right.
Elana's saying, doesn't even fit.
Mm-hmm.
That would be shocking to me if it came back as something totally opposite of where our hearts and minds don't want to go. But
We'll
I
just have to
really think that
see
it's
as it
jumping
unfolds.
on emotion.
Yeah, let's see.
and
Let's
They don't
see.
want to imagine the worst, so they're going to imagine that it was not, and I think I really am hopeful that we'll find her because, like I said, I think she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, to be honest. That's my opinion. I don't know. I haven't researched
And that's
that,
absolutely a possibility. There's so many possibilities, and the police are going to have to, review and research and talk to people. And I'm sure that there'll be, more updates. I mean, this happened Thursday at 9:30, and there have been a pretty steady stream of, people trying to figure out what happened. And so I think that we're, everybody's on top of it, and, just keep pushing because we want to make sure that we can try to find her and hopefully bring her home to her family safely.
Absolutely. And it does happen. I mean, there's been several stories in the news from just the last few months or so, and I can't recall the details, but every now and then you do see, person who was missing for X amount of time is found alive, found well. And it does happen. It happens more and more these days because of all the surveillance and forensics and DNA and the crime, the databases that have a lot of DNA in them, where we're able to piece together who was at scene.
There would be many cameras in the area.
So many. Yeah.
Well, we need to remember we don't have all the information. The police are not, you guys worked in law, that we don't have all the same information the police have. We can.
Yeah, that's what they know so much right now.
So,
exactly.
I mean, unfortunately, because there is so much social media attention, it is forcing them to hold press conferences already and to, make sure, see what they find. However, there are many cases that seem very hopeful and end up being cold cases.
Right.
But we're going to try everything we can to make sure that this is not one of those. So.
Absolutely. And I will rerun that video now then. This will be the end of this show, but we'll come back and we update. Thank you so much, everybody. And if you see something, say something, guys.
And thank you for everybody for watching.
Thank you.
And thank you, Renee and Em. And I am really proud of everybody, and us as a society for.
And welcome back to Crime Night.
Welcome back to Crime Night. We are back, baby. Yeah, we are back. We wish it were for a better reason, but let's keep a positive mindset here. All right, good night, everybody.
If Crime Night can help find somebody,
that's what I'm saying.
We are doing, we're doing our best job, and so let's try to bring her home, people.
Let's bring her home. Come on home, Carlee. We need you. Come on home, Carlee.
Yeah, bring her home.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And now we'll rewatch the video.
I want to relay some of the facts as we know them so far and a few additional details that we've been able to uncover in this case. On July the 13th, at approximately 9:34 p.m., the Hoover 911 Center received a call from a 25-year-old female on I-459 southbound near mile marker 11. She reported that she saw a toddler walking on the side of the interstate. After calling 911, the caller stopped to check on the child and also called a family member to report the same details. The family member lost contact with the caller, but the line remained open. Police officers who were already en route to the location of the initial 911 call located the female's vehicle as well as some of her belongings at the scene. They were unable to find her or a child in the area, and Hoover police have not received any additional calls of someone missing a small child. Detectives are currently investigating these incidents and are requesting the public's assistance to help locate Carlee Nicole Russell. She's described as a 25-year-old black female who is 5'4", 150 to 160 pounds. She was last seen wearing a black shirt, black pants, and white Nike tennis shoes. Carlee got off work last night around 8:20 p.m. from a business at the Summit in Birmingham. She's also believed to have stopped to pick up food from a business at the Colonnade before driving towards Hoover on I-459, where she stopped near mile marker 11. That location is between the Galleria flyover and exit 10 for Highway 150. A single witness has reported possibly seeing a gray vehicle with a light-complected male standing outside of Carlee's vehicle, but we have no further information on that individual or the vehicle at this time. No piece of information is too small in this investigation. If you have any information, please contact Detective Brad Fountain at 205-444-7562 or Sergeant Drew Mims at 205-739-7274. You can also call Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama at 205-254-7777 if you wish to remain anonymous. An anonymous donor has offered $20,000 for the safe return of Carlee Russell, in addition to $5,000 offered by Crime Stoppers. Again, you can call Crime Stoppers if you wish to remain anonymous, or you can call either of the investigators whose numbers I provided.
She spoke with one of our relatives who was in the home with us and told us that there was a child that appeared to be 3 to 4 years old on the side of the interstate, and that she was pulling over to help the child. She was advised not to get out the car. She did call 911. 911 asked her to stay in the area so that the child wouldn't get out in the interstate. She did, but she got out the car, at which time the person she was on the phone with, a family member, heard a scream from Carlee. We then realized she had dropped her phone, and all we could hear was interstate noise. The officer that was sent out from dispatch said they arrived within 3 minutes of her phone call, but when they arrived, her car door was open, her car was running, and her wig, her hat, and her cell phone were found not far from her car.
Family members now on the search for Carlee, her parents desperate for her return.
To keep applying the pressure to keep this thing going.
Now her parents tell WVTM that she was last seen wearing all black and white Nike shoes.